of Pottstown. Welcome to all of you who are joining us here in the sanctuary on this very nice, warm, but not too warm, thank goodness, day. And welcome to all of you who are with us on Zoom and those who are visiting our service later on online. With all the choices we have for our time, I'm so glad you chose to be with us. This morning, we have Cecilia on the piano, and we'd like to send a shout out to Rick for being the technology lead today. Thank you. For over 50 years, the UFP has been a liberal religious voice in the Pottstown area. As UUs, we believe that it's okay if you don't have all the answers. The world is a big place. There's lots of questions to explore. And the important thing is that we keep an open mind and support one another as we search. But perhaps most importantly, we believe that our circle of compassion is big enough for everyone. We don't have to cut people into tiny little pieces of, I believe this and I believe that, and I'm part of this group. We can all be one human family. So we hope that your spirit, your heart, and your mind are refreshed this morning as we explore the way that love guides our experiences. We come together this Sunday morning and every Sunday morning, as I say every time I'm here, not because of a creed, but because we promise one another to support each other on our spiritual journey. Our services are very different every week, but the loving kindness we offer to one another is always the same. So whoever you are, wherever you are, whomever you love, we're glad to have you with us today. All right, so now it's time for announcements. If anyone has an announcement, please come on up to the front and please use a microphone.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Eric. September 12th, save the date. We're going to have our second annual dinner fundraiser. Going to be south of the border. So Mexican influences. Clifford and I will take care of everything. He's going to do the wine pairing. We'll start with a mango gazpacho. We'll go into a duck enchiladas, a cilantro cactus salad, and a beef short ribs in a chipotle sauce, and finishing with a Mexican chocolate cake. So $75, and we went up a little bit this year. All the money goes right to the church fund. So please sign up and bring family and friends. Thanks.
Great. May I have a volunteer to light the chalice? Already up. Let's do it. Well, we'll light our chalice this morning with words by Fred Rowland. In an age where words are easy to generate and harder to mean, we pause to light this flame, not to perfect our message, but to offer something true. We light this chalice for the quiet courage it takes to speak plainly of what moves us. For the voices inside us that say, I've measured out my life with coffee spoons, but you have shown up all the same, hopeful, haunted, human. For every trembling invitation, for every imperfect email that carries a piece of someone's heart, we give thanks. May this light remind us. Connection begins not with the flawless gesture, but with the honest one. And even the smallest act of bravery can be the start of a shared path. All right, so now is the time for the chime where I remind us, myself included, that we have these wonderful devices in our pockets that used to take up entire rooms. When my mother was a computer programmer. And now this device that we just carry around, we don't even think about it, connects us all over the world. But because we can see the whole world from the inside of our pocket, sometimes we get lost inside our pocket instead of looking up and seeing the people around us. So just a reminder, look up, see the people around you, put your phone in worship mode. All right. So now is the time where we sit a little more firmly into our seats. You can close your eyes if you choose. You can take a nice deep breath in. Release the cares and worries of the week. Put them down just for an hour. And listen to the sound of the chime. Our opening words this morning are by Marilyn Sewell. She says, "Come into this circle of love and justice. Come into this community where we can dream and believe in those dreams. Come into this holy space where we remember who we are and how we want to live. Come now, let us worship together." And please rise in body or spirit to sing hymn 360, Here We Begin. Whether you're young in body or in spirit, you can come up and join us at the front of the sanctuary. Yeah, I can hear it now. All right. So, today we are going to be talking about being together and helping each other. And I have a story about building bridges. So, once upon a time, there were two villages. There was a sun village and a moon village. And they were separated by a deep canyon. And for a long time, the villages were separate. They existed separately, one on one side and the other on the other side. And they were both really happy just humming along. And they were beautiful and they had natural places to play and they had places to sit. And the people of each village helped their communities when times were hard. They would cook food, they would create beautiful art and music, they would make forts. Don't you make forts? What, no one? We make forts. And they would bake cookies. I know I baked cookies. I just baked cookies last week. We bake cookies. Nice. Well, one day there was a terrible earthquake and the Sun Village had a whole bunch of buildings fall down and they were toppled over and time was really hard. The streets buckled and water flooded in some places and the villagers were so unhappy. They did their best to recover as soon as they could. They put together their homes as best they could, their community buildings, their supplies, but it wasn't enough. When the Moon Village heard the commotion, well, they looked across the ravine. It wasn't a wide ravine. It was just very deep, so it was hard to get across. They said, "What can we do? We have to help." Well, they had a lot to offer. They had the extra hands, they had extra supplies, they had temporary homes, they could care for people, and so they felt called to rise up and help. It's a stronger network of care, it's a stronger community. Well, they had a vision, but they did not have a plan. And it's really hard to come up with ideas for a plan when you're scared and when you have to act really fast. So one child spoke up and said, "Well, why can't we just build a bridge?" And that was a marvelous idea. And everyone said, "Yes, let's build a bridge." So none of them knew how to build a bridge, and they put together planning commissions, and they started to make charts, and there were some people who thought maybe they could engineer things, and they didn't know how to do it. And the child piped up again and said, "We have a lot of people, and we have a lot of materials, but we don't have a lot of time. So why don't we just start building and learn what we need to do as we go?" And everyone thought that that was a great idea. There were people who were hurt and they needed help right now. So after that little bit of wisdom, the Moon villagers got to work. Each Moon villager contributed. They shared their wood and their cables and their tools. And some people could stay for days at a time and work on building the bridge, and other people worked on taking care of the people who were building the bridge. So they took care of kids and they made dinners and they contributed funds to buy spare parts, and everyone had something to give. Well, as the bridge came together, you can bet it was not a particularly pretty bridge. Well, they try something and maybe it wouldn't work the first time, so then they'd have to fix it again, and a piece might not fit, but everyone kept trying again because it was important to get it done. And over time, they got used to trusting themselves, and even if it was uncomfortable to try to move forward when they didn't know what to do, they still did it. And finally, the bridge was complete, and everyone was able to cross over to both villages and share the resources and support each other. And they found that they were joined together, so it soaked up all the differences between the sun village and the moon village. And they had different foods that they would eat because they were on different sides, and they started exchanging recipes. And they didn't just exchange recipes, they exchanged culture, they exchanged all of the poetry they'd been writing, all of the songs they had been singing, and the new ways that they saw the world. And they were so grateful for the gift of each other's culture. In time, the Sun Village was rebuilt and the villagers returned home, but they always remained connected by the bridge. And do you think that bridge lasted forever after, just the same? No, sometimes a board would snap or a cable would start to come loose. And so they had to keep going back and trying to fix it. But it was important that they did that and that they made it work. And that bridge lasted generations. The villagers are very fond of telling the story of the bridge's building. Because often they'll face tough situations that have lots of different ways to move forward. And instead of getting stuck, they think about the bridge and they remind themselves, we can do this. Remember, we can build the bridge as we promised. So I have a question for all of you. Do you think of any bridges or connections to people who live by you? Anything? No? What about not physical bridges, but maybe metaphorical bridges, maybe bridges that are like play dates or holding out, helping hands on something when they fall down, that kind of a bridge. You see how that might be? Yeah. Have you ever had to choose between a lot of different options to do something? Yeah. How do you figure out which way to work? Try them out. Yeah. Is it comfortable to know what you're doing first, or is it just as comfortable to try to experiment? Yes, that's a good way to think about it. All right, so there's lots of ways to feel connected to other people, and it doesn't just have to be bridges. But whenever you come across a big problem, or a big problem where you need to connect to somebody, you can think about building a bridge as you go. You don't have to plan it out, right? You don't have to get it right the first time. All right, that's what I've got. Thank you so much for coming up. And it's now time for the new member ceremony. The children stay. Everyone's gonna stay for that. We'll send you out later. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda LA and part of the membership committee. And we're here today to welcome new members. And new member recognition day is one of our favorite days at UUFOP. Since our last recognition, 9 people have fulfilled the conditions of membership as specified by the fellowship bylaws, have been accepted as members, and signed the membership book. In joining a church such as ours, members agree that they are in mutual and fundamental sympathy with the principles of freedom and reason in religion and life. As well, they commit to the importance of the democratically organized religious fellowship, ideas and ideals must have a vehicle and embodiment in the world. People who think and work together for values in which they believe have a good chance of achieving their goals. And finally, they accept the responsibilities which go with membership in our community. Within the limits of their ability and in line with their personal choice, they are ready to give time, talent, treasure, and their best thoughts to the furthering of the ideals they pride.
Okay, a little short for this. This morning, we celebrate and welcome as new members of this congregation, the following people. I will read the names of the new members, and when you hear your name, please come to the front of the sanctuary and bring your order of service with you. I'm thinking. Yeah. All right. So we know where we're going. Okay. Beginning with Monica Rukowski Falcone. and Bianca. Matthew Falcone and Dowd. Jamie Sarton. Jay King. Rob Carasquillo. Terry Lynn Jenkins, Sellers Jenkins. Terry Lynn Jenkins Sellers. Samantha Decker. Jay Gibson. And Sunil Kulkarni. Beta, you can come up too. Oh, thank you for that. Thank you, Audrey.
You're welcome.
Okay.
We welcome you as members of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Potsdam. We need your courage and your skills, just as you, being human, need our supporting fellowship. May you find here fulfillment, deep listening, encouragement, and patience. We would have you wade into our deep waters of memory and hope. We would have your roots entangled with ours as we all grow in wisdom and compassion. We welcome you. Would everyone please find your copy of the UFP covenant? It's both in your order of service and should be on the screens. Let's everyone, members, associate members, officers, and friends, now rise and join our newest members as we recommit to our beloved community by reading the UFP covenant all together. In the pursuit of truth and in the spirit of justice, be united in compassionate fellowship and service. With the union as our guide, be covenant to uphold and nurture your community where all are welcome to search for intellectual stimulation and spiritual nourishment. Resume good intentions, even times of conflict, and go beyond tolerance to understanding. Consider carefully the potential results for words and actions, behaving with kindness and respect towards others. Enrich our liberal religious community by encouraging diversity among our members and exemplifying an open mind within the larger community. Cultivating the health of the congregation, we share ministry, giving cheerfully of ourselves as we are able to the task that we choose together. We honor one another in all phases of life. Nurture the growth and education of our children who are an integral part of the community. Have faith in our chosen leadership and be sure to work them in their efforts. Honor our collective space by respecting the sanctity of our buildings and rests and the gifts contained within it. Nice to see you.
We welcome you into membership. We welcome your commitment to our shared ideals. We encourage you to participate fully in the life of the congregation. Everyone, please join us in the social hour after service for coffee, tea, and celebratory cake. where you can also personally welcome and congratulate our new members. Thank you.
Have a seat. Thank you, everyone.
Now's when we sing "Go Down to Thee." Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to see so many new members. Bible reading today. It's called The Faith of Holy Cartographers. And it's by Teresa Youngblood, who has written, she actually wrote a whole book of, she's written like a whole lot of things. If you read Braver Wiser, which I really recommend, Braver Wiser is a newsletter that comes out like basically every week from a community way, and it got questions in it. It comes out via email. But she also has this essay in the book, Class Passing into UU Leadership. So, in order to travel the great way together, we have to cultivate a sense of belonging that isn't conditional upon conformity. I don't want a smoothed out, disproportionately aggrandized faith that attempts to draw all comers to one self-righteous place. And don't want them all to be at the top of the map of humanity, leaving the messiness of their upbringings and lived realities behind them. Instead, I want an imaginative and wandering faith of holy cartographers, eager encounterers who pay exquisite attention to the terrain and the systemic forces that shape it. Leaders who meet people where they are, approach them with curiosity, hold lightly to their own individual stories, and are willing to be surprised and delighted and moved by what they discover in the treasure trove of another. This cannot happen with assimilation. It has to be transformation. We all have to be aiming for transformation and to be willing to be guided not by positions and placeholders, but by principles held in covenant to which anyone of loving intention can guide us back. That old top-heavy map simply cannot get us there. Could we teach one another how to do this? Could we make the foundation of our faith development, learning how to inhabit an open and curious presence by rooting firmly in our own mutual belovedness, as is so beautifully articulated in the Universalist half of our heritage? I want us to heal one another through our fiercely compassionate presence, so that we can chart a different path as a matter of lived theology, so that we can caringly release the old one-directional paths that aren't broad enough for all of us to accompany one another. I think this degree of spiritual security and resiliency could be what gets us there, what frees our souls to encounter the sacred terrain of one another's experiences. What we discover and share could be our new map, more complete and truer than the one we were handed, that we didn't know we could leave behind. This could be how we grow into our new way together. And now is the time in our service where we pause for our morning offering. Kristen Collins says, we give in our offering to remind ourselves of how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give in the faith that together we have enough and we are. Stronger together. We just passed America's 250th birthday. So when my kids have a birthday, I ask them, do you feel older and wiser now? Well, okay, so America, do we feel like we are older and wiser? Do we think our United States are older and wiser? Yeah, we're definitely older. We are no longer a new nation that's experimenting with a system of government that must have seemed truly outlandish when it was proposed. And the other day I was really thinking about it. Can you imagine that we proposed, instead of having a king, we'll have a president. And the president will be elected by the citizens instead of appointed by the divine. And a change of power with all its attendant upheaval, instead of occurring maybe once a generation, will instead occur every 4 years. Can you imagine signing up for that? Oh, you know how there's wars that start every time that there's a new king? Well, let's do that every 4 years. Oh, yeah, and you know what? The president's gonna need to share power with a whole bunch of other people who will also be elected periodically. At different times, though. And you know what else? Those representatives, they're the ones who are gonna decide what the laws are, not the president. Can you imagine thinking of that and thinking, yeah, that's gonna work? And you know what else? Even though the president will be in charge of enforcing the laws, they don't get the final say. That power is going to rest with judges. And those judges aren't going to be loyal to the president. They're going to be loyal to the Constitution and the laws. In theory. Yeah, that was in theory. So having been through civics classes in school, it sounded completely logical. Of course, that's how that works. But imagine that no one had ever done that before. What a leap of faith. When people talk about the American experiment, they mean it. It was experimental. And we made it for 250 years with this amazing form of government of the people and by the people and for the people. And I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes, but as time has gone on, I really do think we have gotten a little wiser. When we started, think about who we meant by the people. Yeah, okay. So the people were the rich, primarily white, mostly men, all men, who owned land, and that was it. And so we've gradually, as time has gone on, we've gotten wiser. We've bent that arc of history a little bit more towards justice, including wider and wider circles of who the people are. So if we're able to do this, if we're able to incrementally widen our circle to make the people a bigger and bigger and bigger portion of the actual people, why do we still need reminders that the people should include all of humanity? Why do we still need reminders that we are humans and people? So in an article by Emiliana R. Thompson-Thomas for Greater Good magazine, she starts with a description of 2 ships that are each stranded on an inhospitable island. And on one ship, everyone works together to try to survive. And so they kind of step back from, oh, the captain has their privileges and the first mate has those privileges and this lowly other, like the cook or the person who swabs the deck, well, they're lowly and they don't matter as much. They step back from that and everyone works together and pools all their resources and everyone tries to get off the island together. And I know Mary is familiar with this because of the Shackleton expedition. That is what happened, and they didn't lose anybody. And then on another ship, let's say that ship from the movie Mutiny on the Bounty, they get marooned and everyone decides that it's every person for themselves. And what happens there? I think the title of the movie just explains it all. So what she was talking about there is called social resilience. social resilience is. Okay, so humans, if you look at us and you look at us in comparison to other animals that are out there, our teeth are really blunt and tiny. Like if you even compare our teeth to like a horse's teeth, horses can hurt you if they bite you. I mean, people can hurt you, but it's a lot harder because our mouths are so much smaller. Our nails, they're not very sharp. We don't run as fast as cheetahs. We can't like dive out of the air like birds. We don't have a whole lot going for us other than there's a lot of us and we work together. So what she's talking about with social resilience is the ability to trust our social partners to work towards shared goals that we can rely upon them to share meaningful information. So we can function as team players, and our ability to function as team players is what made humans arguably the dominant species in the world. Honestly, my daughter and I, this morning as we were driving in, we were having a conversation about animals and animal cognition. And we're saying, you know, it's kind of amazing that my dog speaks human and I don't speak dog. Other animals have to adapt to us because we are so able to work together that we can create amazing things. We can build bridges. How many other living creatures build bridges? I mean, I can think of like ants building rafts to go across bridges, but those rafts are made of the ants' own bodies. It's not like they're taking pieces of grass and braiding them together and making a bridge to cross a ravine to help other people. The fact that we can work together like that kind of social resilience, that's an amazing and incredible part of what makes us people. Sorry, flip that. So if being able to work together is what makes us human and makes us so successful, why is it that when we come together in big groups, we immediately start to split ourselves off into smaller groups? Like, have you ever gone out to, I don't know, like, I went to the Phillies game recently. And you could see there were, it was the Phillies versus whoever the Pittsburgh team is. Pirates, yes. You can tell I sports ball. And you can see that there's all the people in Philly who are like all rallying together. And then there's this little tiny contingent of Pittsburgh people who are all cheering together. And you could see the people are like, yay us, yay us. And we're so excited to be competing and to identify with different teams. And that's one of those things that's really natural for us. We are more pro-socially oriented towards those in the groups that we identify with. It's called an in-group bias. And an in-group bias, it can be really great for sports teams because it makes us all kind of work together. It can even be really great for if there's some kind of outside threat that we can all work together to counter that. But if there's no outside threat, we just start splitting ourselves into tiny different groups. It's harder. So if there's an in-group bias, we might be more likely to give people who are in our group the benefit of the doubt. Even with something as insignificant as which model of phone we choose to purchase. You know, I think of myself as a Samsung person, and all you Apple people out there are probably like, why would you choose Samsung? Why are you smarter than that? But it's really natural. And one of the reasons that this happens is because we use categories to help us break down the world and to help us respond to the things that happen, the unexpected things that happen. But when we take those categories and we break everyone down into different categories, we're cutting off part of the support that we could have to move forward. So the reason that I wanted to give this talk was actually because of this book called The Four Pivots. It is by, I know that I am able to find this. It's by Sean A. Ginwright, PhD. And what he says about this is, even though we have this tendency as humans to break ourselves up into smaller and smaller groups, we still have the capacity to pivot, to be open and to be curious towards other people, and that pivot makes us stronger. And what the place he's coming from is social change and the social order. He works a lot in social justice reform. And so what he's talking about is pivoting to solve major social problems. And so one of the things that he's talking about is we have social lenses. Like, when you think about the way that you view the world, you're usually thinking about looking outwards at the world. And what he says is, why aren't we using the world as a mirror to see ourselves? Have you ever done this? Have you ever gone out and you have a really, really bad day? And so then when you go to the grocery store, like the checkout clerk is not particularly happy to see you either. And like, and then, you know, people in traffic cut you off, or you can't cross the street when you want to, and it feels like everything is compounding on itself. And then conversely, when you have a really good day and you're smiling at everybody, it seems like everything goes your way. Sometimes what we are projecting out to the world is what we get reflected back. Not all the time, but sometimes. And so if we can use the world as our mirror, maybe we'll see some of the things that we can change in ourselves, and maybe we'll see what we're presenting that we didn't even know we were presenting. But in order to do that, this is another thing that he says, we have to be willing to encounter the truth. So there was this article I was reading during the week this week, and it was about telling the truth to yourself in business. Like, if you are going to be a leader, where is it that you are shaping the story of something to get a particular outcome, instead of telling people the facts and letting them draw their own conclusions? It's really easy to do that. It's really easy to say, this particular product is failing, and I think it's failing for this reason, and I think that the thing we should do is this, as opposed to just having the facts in there. This is what happened, and this is where the failure point was. And then letting people, because, you know, if we all work together, we all have different points of view, and maybe I'm not seeing what the problem was. And if I tell you in advance, oh, this is what I think the problem is, we might not get to the solution. So that's another, we have to be willing to see the truth. So not just the mirror of what people are reflecting back at us, but also being willing to take that in as someone else's truth. Then the third thing that he says, oh, that's a very easy one. The third thing he says is that we have to care. So we can't just look for somebody else's truth, see someone else's reflection as a truth. We can't just listen to other people and be sure to hear the truth in their words. We also have to care. We have to care about what other people say. We have to be listening to actually hear, and not just listening as a waiting to speak. And if we can do those three things, if we can use our lens as a mirror instead of just an outward view, if we can pay attention to the truth and hear the truth in other people's words, even if it's hard for us to hear, And if we can care, not just care what they have to say, but also care about people, humanity, that can make a difference, and that difference can bridge the gap. We can go forward and move together to build bridges. So that's what I'm hoping for all of us. Please rise in body or in spirit to join in singing hymn 323 in a great and great Oh, yes, it is breaking up the circle. Sorry, it says something different in the order of service. And now we come to the time in our service where we share our joys and our sorrows. By Craig Rowland. Let us leave this gathering not with the pressure to be polished, but with permission to be real, to say the awkward thing kindly, to reach out before the words are perfect, to risk being seen, and in doing so, make spaces for others to be seen too. In a world that often asks us to curate and filter, may we remember the truth is magnetic. Small acts of honesty can call a community into being, and we can carry our light with us, not in our hands, but in our words, in our invitations, and in our willingness to begin. So with those words, let us extinguish our chalice. Thank you. We extinguish this chalice flame, but not the light of wisdom, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we are in us, until we are together again. So amen, shalom, salam, blessed be, and let's have some. Mostly, sorry, yeah.